Good morning to all. Today, in this section, we are going to discuss about some special kind of random processes. In the previous session, we discussed about random processes. It's autocorrelation function, cross correlation function, covariance function, mean, variance, etc., etc. And now, in this chapter, we are concentrating on some special kind of random processes, and we concentrate mainly on Markov process and a particular type of Markov process known as Poisson process. Now, uh, these are the prerequisites. Um, you're supposed to go through the concepts of basic probability theory, like the concept of random variables, probability density functions, distribution functions, expectation of a random variable, mean, variance, etc. And something like independence of random variable, binomial distribution, Poisson distribution, exponential distribution, normal distribution. All these concepts need to be covered before going into this special random process. And anyhow, we are supposed to have an idea about random process and its analysis using correlation, autocorrelation, autocovariance function, etc. And its classification into WSS, first order stationary process, second order stationary process, etc. Then fundamentals of integral calculus is expected. Then linear algebra, some topics from linear algebra like the matrices, its inverse, its multiplication of matrices, calculating the eigenvalue of a matrix, etc. are expected. And now we can start with defining a Markov process. A random process x of t is called a Markov process if it has the following property: probability of x t n plus 1 uh, less than or equal to x n plus 1, given that x t n is equal to x n, x t n minus 1 is equal to n minus 1, etc. x t naught is equal to x naught is equal to probability that x t n plus 1 less than x n plus 1, provided x t n is equal to x n. So this equation means the probability that so here we fix the value of time at say n plus 1 points, t naught, t1, t2, etc., tn in increasing order. Then the probability that tn plus 1, the random variable corresponding to the time point or the instant tn plus 1, is less than xn plus 1, that's not equal to xn plus 1, provided or given the values of the random variables at the instance t0, t1, t2, etc., tn. So the values of the random variables from t0 to tn is given, and we are looking for the probability that the random variable take a value xn plus 1 at the instant tn plus 1. That will coincide with the probability that the value of the random variable x t n plus 1 less than or equal to x n plus 1, given the value of the random variable at the instant t n. So this equation means that the probability that x t n plus 1 takes a particular value or is less than or equal to a particular value depends only on the just previous random variable x t n takes a particular value. Or in other words, if a random variable at time tn is on a state xn, the future state of the random process at time tn plus 1 depends only on the present state. So if we observe the system from xn and looking for the next state at which or to which the random process moving to. It depends only on the current state, and it is independent of the previous states, that is xn minus 1, xn minus 2, etc. x1, x0. So some examples are mentioned, snake and ladders. So the next move, it's a random move, depends on either tossing of die or so. But that move depends only on, or the output depends only on the current state, and it is independent of the previous states through which we get into our current state. Then weather prediction models are another examples where tomorrow's weather depends only on, or the prediction depends only on the current state, and how the current state is attained is immaterial. Now, uh, a discrete time Markov process is known as a Markov chain. A discrete time, so the index set is a discrete set. That kind of a Markov process is known as Markov chain. Then Markov chain, without any loss of generality, we can write a Markov chain as x suffix n, where n is greater than or equal to 0. So if it is a countable set, T is a countable set, then we can obtain a one-to-one correspondence with the counting numbers, or the integers 0, 1, 2, 3 up to infinity, and therefore we can rewrite, or we can express random process or random chain as sequence xn. So most of the time we just write sequence xn instead of sequence xn n greater than or equal to 0. Then the set of all possible values of xi is thus a countable set, capital S, called the state space of the process. The set of all possible values obtained by xi for all values of I, x1, x2, etc., xn. That's again will known as a state space of the process. Now, we can define the transition probability for a Markov chain with the state space 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. That is our state space, which means these are the values which can be obtained by the random variable xi for any value of I. Now, say if the random process is at the state I, that is at time n, the random process is on I, and at the next instant it is say moved to a state called j, then the probability for that is given by probability that xn plus 1 is equal to j given xn is equal to I, and this is called the one step transition probability from state I to state j. So it's a probability to move from a particular state I to another state j. I can take values from 0 to 0, 1 to 3 up to infinity, and j also can take the values from 1 to 0 to infinity. Then this transition from ith state to the jth state may depend on the present stage of the random process. So if we are starting with I, then the probability to move to the stage j, and if we are at say 10th step, and what about the probability to move to the stage j in 11th step, they may not be the same. So the value Pij, the probability to move from state I to state j, is not a constant. It depends on the step at which we reach at state I, and Therefore, we denote it as Pij, P suffix ij, n plus 1. So this means Pij n plus 1 means we are is the probability that uh, the random or Markov chain moves from the state I to state j in the n plus 1 step. Then if the transition probabilities are independent of n, which means the probability to move from ith state to jth state at any point is the same, then the Markov chain is said to be a stationary or said to have stationary transition probabilities, and the process is known as a homogeneous Markov chain. So that's how we define the homogeneous Markov chain. Now, if for a homogeneous Markov chain, if we write down the values of Pij as a matrix, then that matrix is known as the transition probability matrix, TPM in abbreviate. It is abbreviated as TPM. So the matrix Pij is called the transition probability matrix. Then for a homogeneous Markov process, probability that xn is equal to j given x naught is equal to I. That is, the probability that the system is at the state I when we start the random process, and after nth steps it will reach at the state j. That is known as the n steps transition probability, and it is denoted by Pij superscript n. It is not power n, it is superscript n. Pij superscript n. So that is a notation because we already have two subscripts. So to avoid any further subscription, we write it as a superscript, and to distinguish from Pij raised n, the nth power, we just enclose the superscript in brackets. So in ith stage, our system, we start with the state I, and the probability to attain or reach at the state j after n steps is known as the nth step transition probability, and note that Pij uh, 1 is nothing but Pij. So the one step transition probability matrix or probability is nothing but the transition probability. Then this is the simple representation of our transition probability matrix. The matrix Pij is like this. It's an infinite dimensional matrix for if we have infinite number of states, and if the number of states are finite, then we only have a finite matrix. Anyway, not that Pij's being their probabilities, Pij's is always positive or can be equal to 0, it is non-negative, and if we sum up uh, over the this j, the value is equal to 1. That is, from any state, say I, the Markov chain should move to another state, maybe remain in the state itself. So it from, say, if I is equal to 0, then we have the probabilities P00, P01, P02, etc. to move to the states 0, 1, 2, etc. etc. But it should transfers to some states in the next step, and therefore the sum of the probabilities should be equal to 1. Then for a finite set S, we can write down the probability transition probability matrix as a square matrix, and this matrix is known as, or this kind of a matrix is known as a Markov matrix or a stochastic matrix. Then remember one thing, a matrix can be termed as a Markov matrix or a stochastic matrix if that square matrix has the property that Pij is greater than or equal to 0 and summation over j Pij is equal to 1. If a matrix has such a property, then such matrices are known as Markov matrix or stochastic matrix. And the transition probability matrix for a finite S or a Markov process with finite sample space S, the transition probability matrix become a Markov matrix or a stochastic matrix. Then, so here we are discussing about some kind of probability distributions associated with Markov chain. Consider a Markov chain Xn and be it a homogeneous Markov chain, then we define P suffix in as the probability that Xn is equal to I. That is the probability that the process is in state I in stage n the stage, and in the stage the process is in state I. Now we can write down Pn as a vector whose elements are P0 n, P1 n, P2 n, etc. etc. That means in the stage n, the process is at the state 0, 1, 2, etc. So here we accumulate or we write down all the possible positions, the probability that the system is on the state 0, on the state 1, on the state 2, etc. If we write it as a vector, then this vector is known as state probability vector after n steps, or probability distribution of the Markov chain. So it's a probability distribution at the stage n. The system should be in any of the states 0 to 0, 1, 2, 3 up to infinity. So the probability is distributed among that states. Some states may have probability 0, some may have probability between 0 and 1, and so on. Anyhow, the probability is distributed among all the states, and the summation over k from 0 to infinity pkn is equal to 1. So Pn is a probability distribution, and we express it as a vector. But anyway, that vector is known as the probability distribution of the Markov chain. And when n is equal to 0, the probability distribution is known as the initial probabilities. When n is equal to 0, that is probability to start our Markov chain at state 0, state 1, state 2, etc. If we arrange them as a vector, it's known as initial state probabilities. Then there is an important theorem. We are not going to the proof of this particular theorem. Proof is not included in your syllabus, but the theorem is important, and you may go through the statement of the theorem a few times. Let Xn be a homogeneous Markov chain with transition probability matrix Pij and n-step transition probability matrix P superfix n. Then the following properties hold. P superfix m plus n is equal to P to superfix n into P superfix n. That is this m plus n step transition probability matrix is the product of n step transition matrix and m step transition matrix, and P superfix m is equal to P to the power n. The one is an error. P to the power n. That is the n step transition probability matrix can be obtained by just taking the nth power of transition probability matrix. The second result is very important. This has a lot of application while solving problems related to Markov chain. Then stationary distribution, let Xn be a homogeneous Markov chain with transition probability matrix capital P if there exists a probability vector pi such that pi into P is equal to pi. Then pi is called stationary probability distribution or steady state distribution for the Markov chain. Pi into P is equal to pi. So that identity, it may be familiar to you. If we transform this pi into the left hand side of the equation, then it becomes something like pi into p minus pi is equal to 0, or pi into p minus pi into I is equal to 0. It has similarity between the expression a minus lambda I is equal to 0, which will give the eigenvalues and eigenvectors related to the matrix analysis. So here the left eigenvectors of the matrix P give the stationary distribution or steady state distribution for the Markov chain. So here pi is the left eigenvector of the transition probability matrix P corresponding to the eigenvalue 1. And if pi is an eigenvector of P, then so is alpha into pi. So that's again a property of eigenvectors. If we have a vector capital X or vector V, which is an eigenvector of a particular matrix, then all its linear multiples are also eigenvectors. But here we can have many eigenvectors corresponding to 1 which are linearly dependent, but we can have infinitely many, but we are looking for a probability vector, and therefore we are looking for a vector for which the sum of elements is equal to 1 and which has positive values for each, non-zero, non-negative values for all as its components. Anyway, since there is a restriction that the vector is an eigenvector, the value of pi is unique. Now, here the definition of regular Markov chain. A stochastic matrix or Markov matrix P for which P raised to n has all positive entries for some integer n is called a regular matrix. So remember, P and P raised to n are probability matrices, and therefore all the elements are either 0 or positive. So this statement means that if there is a value of n such that P raised to n has all non-zero entries for all entries of the matrix, then if a Markov chain has a regular transition probability matrix, then that Markov chain is known as a regular Markov chain. And for a regular homogeneous finite state Markov chain with transition probability matrix P, we have limit n tends to infinity P raised to n is equal to Q, where Q is a matrix whose rows are identical and equal to the stationary distribution pi. Stationary distribution pi, we already defined the concept, and is a probability vector, and as the limit n tends to infinity, P raised to n tends to a matrix Q in which all the rows are identical to the probability matrix pi. Now we are defining the concept of a counting process. A random process is called a counting process if x of t represent the total number of events that have occurred in the interval 0 to t. That is, x of t must satisfy the following conditions. Actually, we are counting the number of occurrence of an event in a time interval 0 to t. So, in below we are going through some properties or defining criteria for a counting process, but remember there is nothing complicated. We are just counting the number of events in the interval 0 to t, some occurrence of an event, something like the say some accidents in 1 week period, or the emission of alpha particles in 1 minute period, or number of flights arriving at an airport in a particular period, or in current scenario number of COVID-19 cases reported at a particular region, or something like that. We just count the number of occurrence of an event in a particular period. Then naturally the counting will have the following properties. It's always greater than or equal to 0 in a time interval. The number of occurrence is always positive or non-negative anyway. And at time 0, the number of occurrence is 0. When t is equal to 0, in the interval 0, 0, no event can occur. Then x of t takes only integer values. When we count, it takes only integer values. There is no possibility to occur 2.5 events for some 5 by 3 events in an event in an interval. Then x of t is a monotone, non-decreasing process. Or in other words, if we count the number of occurrence in 0 to 1, the interval 0 1, then and again we count the number of occurrence in the interval 0 2, then number of occurrences in 0 2 is always greater than number of occurrences in 0 t. That can equal, but it is non-decreasing. Then x of t minus x of s is equal to the number of events that have occurred in the interval s t. So that's again another simple property of counting process. Now here we define a special kind of process or counting process, which is known as Poisson process. A counting process x of t, which represent the number of occurrences of a certain event in time interval 0 t. So it has all the 4 properties which we discussed in our previous slide, and is called a Poisson process. So that is, in addition to that 4 properties, it has the following properties too. Then it has a Poisson process with rate or intensity lambda if it satisfies the following conditions, and the conditions are known as Poisson postulates or Poisson axioms. Then the condition first one, x of 0 is equal to 0. That's again a property of the counting process. Then x of t has independent and stationary increments. It has independent and stationary increments. And the third one, probability that x at t plus delta t minus x of t is equal to 1 is lambda into delta t plus big O of delta t, which means the probability to have one occurrence in a time interval of delta t is lambda into delta t, and big O of the delta t means the remaining terms are higher powers of delta t, delta square, delta cube, etc., etc. And probability that the last equation means probability that there are more than or equal to 2 or more occurrence in a time interval of delta t is equal to order of delta t. So that time that probability expression will contain the powers of delta t as delta t square, delta t cube, etc. And we can express these two axioms in simple terms as the probability to have one occurrence in a time interval of delta t can be identified as a non-zero value, and probability to have more than one occurrence in an interval of delta t can be equal to 0. We can find out such a delta t. So if we find in an infinitely small value for delta t, or we can identify a value of delta t, maybe much smaller, in such a way that in the time interval of delta t, either we have one occurrence or zero occurrence. So it is a two-way case, either one occurrence or zero occurrence. Then if all these four axioms are satisfied, then such a process is known as a Poisson process. Then there is another term, x of t has independent increments, which means the number of arrivals, number of occurrence in an interval 0 t or t1 t2 depend or is independent of what happened in the interval prior to that point 0 or t1. So if we have a Poisson process, lambda is assumed to be a constant, and such Poisson process is known as a homogeneous Poisson process. But the average occurrence or the rate of occurrence of the events can be a function of t also, and that kind of process is known as non-homogeneous Poisson process. But anyhow, we are not going into the concept of non-homogeneous Poisson process. We concentrate on homogeneous Poisson process, for which the number of occurrence in unit time interval is constant, and that is denoted by lambda. Then, for such a Poisson process x of t, if the probability that n occurrence in the time at the time or till the time t, which is denoted by p suffix n t, or probability that x of t is equal to n, then pnt is a Poisson distributed random variable with the mean lambda t. That is, the probability density function is e raised to minus lambda t raised dn by n factorial. And we already discussed about the Poisson process with a parameter lambda. Here it is a Poisson random variable. X of t is the Poisson random variable with parameter lambda t. So if you observe the system for a time from 0 to say t, then it will follow a Poisson distribution with the parameter lambda t. So if you observe it for say 0 to 2, then the corresponding probability density function is lambda into 2, has a parameter lambda into 2. And if you observe the same situation for from 0 to 5, then the number of occurrence will follow a Poisson distribution with parameter 5 into lambda. Or it has a probability density function e raised to minus 5t, e raised to minus 5 lambda raised to n by n factorial. So this is an important application of Poisson distribution, and remember, a Poisson distribution has mean Poisson distribution with parameter lambda has mean lambda and variance lambda. So here the x of t has a mean lambda t and variance lambda t. So if x of t is a Poisson process with intensity lambda, then the number of events in any interval of length t is a Poisson distributed with mean lambda t. That is, probability that x of s plus t minus x of s is equal to n. That means we have n occurrences in a time interval of length t. The starting point is immaterial. We start from an arbitrary point s, and we take a time interval or the interval of length t. Then the probability to have n occurrences in such an interval is e raised to minus lambda t raised to n by n factorial. This is possible since the Poisson process has independent increments. Now, here we have some properties of Poisson process. The mean of the Poisson process is lambda into t. So it's a function of t, not a constant. So it is not a stationary process of any kind. And sigma square of x is also a function of t. It is lambda into t. The covariance function is lambda into minimum of t1 t2. That's again a function of the time. Rx t1 t2 is equal to lambda into minimum of t1 t2 plus lambda square into t1 t2. The covariance function is minimum of t1 t2 divided by root of t1 into root of t2. So all the expressions are functions of time, and it is not even a function of the difference of time, or not a function, not a constant. So it is not a stationary process in any sense. So can be treated as an evolutionary process. Then a Poisson process is a Markov process. That means it has the previously defined property of Markov process, or the membreless property. Then sum of two independent Poisson process is again a Poisson process, while the difference is not a Poisson process. Then we can associate a Poisson process with an exponential random variable or an exponential distribution in a simple way. If we have a Poisson process with intensity lambda, then the inter-arrival time of the process follows an exponential random variable, or is an exponential random variable with PDF. F of t is equal to lambda e raised to lambda t, where t is positive, lambda is positive. So that is an exponential, that is the time between two successive occurrence of events is an exponential random variable. So the probability density function of exponential random variable is we have already discussed about it. It is a continuous type of random variable with the probability density function lambda e raised to minus lambda x, or here t is random variable, so lambda e raised to minus lambda t. So okay, here minus in the exponential term is missing, so let's correct that. The PDF is f of t is equal to lambda e raised to minus lambda t. And so here, if we observe, say, if we count the number of occurrence of an event, say number of phone calls arrived at a counter, then the number of phone calls will follow a Poisson process of Poisson random variable with the parameter lambda into t, and the time gap between two successive arrival of phone calls will follow an exponential distribution with parameter lambda, or it has mean 1 by lambda and variance 1 by lambda square. Now here is not so much important, but we just define a few more random processes. If you define xn as xn is equal to 1 if the nth toss of a coin yields a head, and is equal to 0 when nth toss is a tail, and say probability of obtaining a head is equal to p, and probability to obtain a tail is equal to q, and is a sequence. First toss we can either have head or tail, second toss we again have a head or tail, third toss again we have a tail or head, and so on. And this is a random process, and that random process is known as a Bernoulli process. We had already discussed about such and a random experiment when we deal with the binomial distribution. Anyway, if we take the sum of Bernoulli processes, then so we define xn as z1 plus z2 plus etc. zn, where z1, z2, etc. are Bernoulli processes. Then xn is to be a binomial process. So xn can take values, say x1, we toss a coin, and it's either 1 or 0. If 1 is if it is a head or a success, and 0 if it is a failure or tail. Then x2, we toss the coin again and observe the output. It's either 0 or 1. We find the sum. Xn can take values of x2, therefore x2 can take values 0, 1 or 2, and so on, can be extended to any countable or finite value of n. And so xn, at any point xn can take values from 0 to n, and that has a binomial distribution nck, p raised to k, q raised to n minus k. So probability density function at each random variable xn is a binomial distribution, depends on the value of n. So that kind of a probability density function, that kind of a random variable is known as a, or that kind of a sequence of random variables is known as a binomial process. Now, another kind of random process is either normal or Gaussian process. If any, for any integer n and any subset t1, t2, etc. tn of t, we fix n instance of t, then we get n random variables xt1, xt2, etc. xtn, and they have a joint probability density function and probability distribution function, and if that is the joint normal distribution, then we call it as a normal or Gaussian process. Normal distribution, we already discussed about normal distribution, and okay, anyhow, we discussed the concept of normal distribution only for a one-dimensional random variable. We can extend the concept of normal distribution to higher dimensions. The properties are the same. Anyway, we can extend it to higher dimensions, and if the joint probability density function of n instance, fixed instance, then it is known as a Gaussian process or normal process. And we are not going into the details of these three types of random processes. They're just mentioned. And here again a few more details which may be useful to analyze the problems related to Markov process. And we already defined the concept of state space, and for a Markov space we have a finite or countable state space, and so without loss of generality we can express it as 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. And we classify the states as follows. The first one is accessible state. A state is to be accessible from I. Say a state J is accessible from the state I if Pij n greater than 0 for some value of n. So practically we can, if we are at state I now, then J is said to be accessible from I if we can reach J at some point of time, some finite point of time. That is, the probability to attain or reach the state J after n state should be non-zero for some value of n. Then if two states are accessible from each other, then we said they communicate. I is accessible from J and J is accessible from I, then they are said to communicate each other. Then if all the states of a Markov chain communicate with each other, then this we say that the chain is irreducible, or otherwise known as reducible. Irreducible if all the states communicate with each other. Then if Pjj is equal to 1, then the state J is known as an absorbing state. That is, probability to move from the state J to J itself is 1. So this means that we cannot move out of this state Pj whenever we reach there. So that kind of a state is known as an absorbing state. Then we just go through another concept which is known as the state transition diagram. It's again useful to analyze problems. We can um, represent finite state homogeneous Markov chain with the help of graphical notation. So here we represent the states using vertices or points or just circles, and um, the edges of the diagram corresponds to the values of Pij with positive values, and they are directed edges, and we just illustrate the concept using a simple transition probability matrix. Here we have a transition probability matrix with four states, say 0, 1, 2, and 3, and probability to move from 0 to 0 is 0, 0 to 1 is 0, 0 to 2 is 0, 0 to 3 is 1, and 1 to 1, 1 to 0 is 1, 1 to 1 is 0, 1 to 2 is 0, 1 to 3 is 0, 2 to 1, 2 to 0 is 1, 2 to 1 is 0, and 2 to 3, 2 to 4, 2 to 3 are equal to 0. Then from 3 to 0 is 0, 3 to 1 is 1 by 2, 3 to 2 is 1 by 2, 3 to 3 is 0. This is the transition probability matrix for a finite state Markov chain. Now, this transition probability matrix can be represented using a state transition diagram given by this particular diagram. So here we have four states 0, 1, 2, and 3, and the probability to move from 1 to 0 is 1, 0 to 3 is 1, 0 to 2 is 1, 2 to 3 to 2 is 1 by 2, and 3 to 1 is 1 by 2, or 3 to 2 is 1 by 2, 3 to 1 is 1 by 2. So in this way, we can express an Markov process, maybe finite or infinite states, using a graph, a directed graph. This kind of a diagram is known as a directed graph, and this representation is known as state transition diagram. State transition diagrams are very much useful when we analyze problems. Anyway, that's all in this particular module. We discussed the concept of special random processes, which is known as Markov process, and a particular Markov process known as Poisson process, and the transition probability matrix, and most importantly, the Kolmogorov Chapman-Kolmogorov theorem related to transition probability matrices, the stationary distributions of a Markov chain. These are the concepts which we discuss in this chapter, and we have to go through a number of problems which utilize all these concepts. Almost all the concepts which we discussed will illustrate using a number of problems.